This is 1,199 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, but he just didn't go missing. Of course, he was a whistleblower, was retaliated against. They tried to get him to, they tried to suicide him. That's our belief. They tried to suicide him, just make his life so miserable. But he stood against that. And on July 9th, 2020, all of their retaliation uh, just fell, bottomed out because the case that they used, the parking lot DUI, um, with no video, no proof, was dismissed. The agreement for dismissal came on July 9th, 2020. And, what were they going to do? Apologize? What were they going to do? Um, Restore him to his rightful rank? Restore his pay? Um, give him something for his pain and suffering? And also, the legal case for them not protecting him as a whistleblower. It's very clear that July 9th is a very, very important date. And I'll tell you, I don't think July 23rd is a fast date either. I don't think it's written in cement either. And so we're revisiting everything. And, there was um, some things that I'm not at liberty to say why that is the case. But I don't think it is written in stone. Okay? I think something happened. Um, yeah, maybe sooner. Maybe sooner. So this is what Team Find Richard Halliday is working on behind the scenes, trying to get everything as accurate as possible. Okay, let me go on to Facebook and see if I am on and if you can hear me well. Good evening. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Grace, for coming on. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your love. And here we go. This is 1,180, 1,190 days. I'll do a date check again because, the dates, they can get away from you really quick. So I will do that this week, before the end of the week. But I think it's 1,190 days. So I put up some breaking news today, that I think was pretty big. Let me get to it. And of course, I put it in different languages, and I think the German, we lived in Germany for over 20 years. Uh, in addition to Ireland, because we had to go back and forth. There was an explanation for that, um, and it's economic. It's totally economic because in 2008 you had the whole real estate tumble crash in Ireland and not in Germany, and so Rob didn't take a chance for quitting his job. He just stayed there. So we had to go back and forth because of jobs. But anyway, um, it was a blessing. It was a blessing to be able to travel and to go back and forth. So February 22nd, February 2022, James Hart. This is public information that we found that we thought was very, very interesting. It's in the public record because Leilani Hart and James Hart are still married. They are still married, but they are in this divorce. And he, in February, wanted a mental evaluation on his wife. Okay. So in 1998, a judge issues a mental evaluation on Leilani Hart, and now we're at uh, 2022, and her husband is um, requesting an order to have her mentally evaluated. And why is this so important? Because she is being used as a reliable source to obstruct justice in our son's case, to interfere in our son's case. And she also was meddling with our son's file, tampering with it, and she had access to the file. She had unauthorized access to the file. And we were concerned about that. We knew that that was happening while we were there at Fort Bliss. And we even said it in our meeting. And CID agent Soto, dirty agent Soto, took that information and said he would handle it. And that was in front of everybody. And everybody that's anybody knows that you cannot police yourself like that, right? You cannot do your oversight over your criminal self like that. And we know that he absolutely is a criminal, that he's a dirty agent, because we have it in black and white from law enforcement agencies that he absolutely tampered with our son's case and obstructed justice in it also. And he has an open investigation. There's an open investigation into Dirty Agent Soto as I speak right now. So let's pray for that, because um, that means that the case is a botched case and it needs to be reinvestigated, just like we have now opened up the reinvestigation of kilometer 29, right? We have to revisit that area because it said that Richard's remains are there. We know that Richard's remains are in many different locations, and there's reasons why we believe that there's some remains there. And that needs to be revisited. That's a normal thing, to revisit certain places and certain people, certain ideas, leads when you're investigating a case. So that shouldn't alarm anybody. It happens often, and you can see that in the Aruba case, um, where the parent of Natalie Holloway revisited all the time, right? All these different places and different people, and she kind of knew, she had her suspicions, she knew what happened, but it took 18 years, and now she has resolution on that case that Joran did murder her daughter, which she always knew, she's known for years that he did. So, and it's really sad because he murdered another young lady, and that's how this all came out again. So yeah, it's really, really sad. The reason why this is so important is because of our focus on El Paso Matters and KTIP. They used an unreliable source, Leilani Hart, to obstruct justice. And of course, you have the CID, but Angela Kucherga absolutely has to answer for all of this because KTIP is like PBS, right? It is, financed by the people, and they have certain regulations that they have to follow in order to get those monies. And they cannot be political attack dogs. They cannot obstruct justice. They cannot do what they did, um, interfere with an ongoing case. They cannot do that. And so that's why our focus is with in that direction for open an open records request. Also, because it connects to UTIP, which also we have an open records request for UTIP in regards to all of this going on, because Angela Kachurga dragged UTIP into this, and she dragged El Paso Matters into this. And I would say that Bob Moore also has some liability in what they have done and what they are still doing. So, that is our focus. And it became our focus when the information poured out that Leilani Hart is an unreliable source. And what do I mean by that? I mean all her criminal record going back to the 1990s in Hawaii. And also the requests by a judge, by her own husband, by her victims to be mentally evaluated, that she is not mentally stable because crimes happen like murder, like assault. That happens when you can't control yourself, right? You can't control yourself and you operate on deception. And that is uh, proven beyond a reasonable doubt in Leilani Hart's criminal history record dating back to the 1990s, of assault, of harassment, of domestic disputes, which and I'm just going to give you some extra news tonight about Dallas Hart. Dallas Hart seems to have uh, a cushy little cover on his criminal history past. Okay, that includes all kinds of things. And how did he get that cover, and why did he get that cover? Um, you know, and did he what is the word that I disclose it? That's the right word. Disclose it when he joined the army, when he applied for green to gold. Because you can have a criminal history to join the army, but you have to disclose it. And you have to, you don't have to have a totally clean record when you join Green to Gold, to apply for Green to Gold. If you're, outstanding soldier, it's really hard for us to believe, right? But if you do have a criminal record, you have to disclose your criminal record. If you don't disclose it, then that's a crime. Okay? So, and we're getting reports, and maybe Dallas Hart can enlighten us in these witness reports about El Paso and Las Cruces. Um, you know, More so in Las Cruces, the criminal activities and him getting caught, having that criminal record. So it is, yeah. And it's very, very important in our son's case. And you can, if he disclosed it during the green to gold decision, then voila, we have the record and we can corroborate what our witnesses are telling us about his violations in Las Cruces and his violations in El Paso. And they're two different jurisdictions, so you know he would have to disclose two jurisdictions, right? So this is what is coming out. And if he has an assault history, if he has a theft history, if he has a drug distribution, drug history, that is very, very important in our son's case where he's blowing the whistle for these similar actions. And if he has an assault or a domestic dispute history with, assault in there, that's a violent history. And that would be very, very important in our son's case because he, of course, is the prime suspect of the foul play committed against our son that took his life. And, so Dallas Hart could definitely square that away. But if he is afraid to do that because he, didn't notify and didn't disclose to the Army that he has this criminal history, and by some chance through his connections, he got, his criminal history covered. And I don't know, they use these fake social security numbers. Um, yeah, it's so we're looking into that because that's very, very important for our case going forward, to know if he has a criminal history. And, hidden or not hidden, it's very, very important. And the information that we are getting out of that area is that he does have a criminal history, more so in Las Cruces. So, yeah, we're trying to get to the bottom of that, and we've been told, what they're for. But until we corroborate it, I'm not. I just don't want to say until I corroborate it. I can tell you this, that it's enough there for me to say it on a live because we've been working on this for a while, and it's enough there, and I'm sure about it enough so that I can say that we have been told that he has a criminal record, and more so in Las Cruces, New Mexico, than in El Paso, Texas. So I think that is huge ramifications because with Leilani Hart's criminal record, it makes her an unreliable source, and that's kind of what they were trying to do to Richard, is try to create a false narrative around him. And the truth is that the false narrative, not the false narrative, the reality of the narrative was that Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal, and that many people call her quote unquote crazy and want her to have a mental evaluation. So that is, to be a convicted crazy criminal is a dangerous game. Okay, that's not good. That's not good. If you have the propensity to commit crimes, and and you're not right mentally, and can you be violent, or can you do things that are just very extreme, like hiding somebody's remains, right? um that. And then Angela Kachurga teams up with her. I want to make everyone know this. Leilani Hart didn't just go to Kacherga and say, "Oh my gosh, look what happened to me. Can you cover this story?" No, there is a defense attorney, and it the media just doesn't cover you, right? They just don't cover you. Um, we've been wanting the media to cover Fine Richard Halliday and all the new developments in this case. They just don't cover you like you would think that they would. This was an organized. This was a collaboration. This was a co-conspiracy between Leilani Hart and Angela Kacherga and a defense attorney and Bob Moore. Okay? It was absolutely a collaboration between them to decide how they were going to handle this story. It was a production. It was absolutely a production. And, so and that's my opinion. That is my opinion. Seemingly, right? They collaborated together to make this story up, and to obstruct and take the eyes off of Richard's case. And they do that really well, even with the biggest cases. They do that, and our son's case is connected because it's connected by the same people like Thomas Hoffman, like Rosa Marie Valdez Garcia, like Thomas Kane, like, all these people that are connected not just with our son's case, but also another even bigger case. So that's uh, where we're headed as far as the uh, getting them all ready to do the legal cases against them. And we have enough, and even the last few days has given us even more, um, I don't want to say ammunition, but more truth to use in a court of law. So, and like I said, we have contacted President Heather. Yeah, her name is Heather. Um, Make sure that I have it here so that I can. Yeah, here it is. Oh, let's see if I can get it. I wanted to get her name and make sure. Heather Wilson. I knew. Gosh. Yeah. So the president of UTIP, her name is Heather Wilson. And that's why I do this every night, because I have to make sure I memorize all of this stuff and know all these people. And President Heather Wilson, um, she has been contacted by Team Fine Richard Halliday. Uh, we've requested an open records, right? Because of Angela Kacherga, Bob Moore, with KTIP, with El Paso Matters, with obstructing Richard's case, because we have to, it's kind of like a drain. You know, you want the water to go down the drain, and it's obstructed. So you've got to clean up the clog, and the clog right now, that's hindering us from seeing the full picture of what happened to Richard is Leilani Hart with Angela Kacherga, with Bob Moore. They're hindering, and of course, Major General Eisenhower. Um, they are obstructing justice in our son's case. There's other people too, but this is one that people can understand, because everything gets so convoluted, and you're like, how is that hurting you? But this is something we can all understand that if they're, interfering and retaliating against a key witness, keeping him from living his life and doing his job, and his job happens to be law enforcement, um, and uh, discovering what happened to Richard is part of that, then this is an obstruction of justice, and very, very clearly. So that's why our focus is on that right now with Aaron Montanez, Angela Katurga, Bob Moore, KTIP, UTIP, El Paso Matters. That's huge, because what they did is they used an unreliable source, and that unreliable source is Leilani Hart. And how is she unreliable? Well, she has a long criminal history, and she has a history of mental illness. She is 100% disabled. She gets 100% disability. Um, and, so that is really important. I've even heard about Edwin Sishane also getting disability. All of this stuff kind of needs to be looked at. And what role did these people all play? But in Leilani Hart's case, it's very, very clear. She's the obstruction. She's what's plugging up, um, the flow, and we want the information. And so that's what we're focused on right now. And that absolutely, uh, and I don't know if we want this to happen, but it's going to happen. It's revealing who the defense attorney is that collaborated with them to obstruct justice in this case, and he is a lead in another much larger case. And, you know, so if they're going to spend millions for that case, they have spent millions for this case because they are connected. And that's why I say conservatively, it's $9 million that they've spent on covering up this case. And, but that's not my thoughts. My thoughts is it's much higher than that. It's in the tens of millions of dollars and that they've spent on covering Richard's case. But I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. But I say conservatively it's around $9 million, but I think it's way double than that. Um, and the reason why I say that is because of our own experiences. It was very, very clear that they were, um, a high stakes cover up, that this was a high stakes cover up. And, just think about it. If the perpetrator um, has a criminal history and, you know, joined the army and joined Green to Gold and didn't disclose his criminal history, um, that's not too good. That's not too good. And then he's caught in crimes in the military and using taxpayers um, funded equipment and weapons, and that gets smuggled out. Um, you know, where did that that equipment go to, right? And who's cooking the books? And if he is platoon leader, he has charge of cooking the books. And if he's using other people's computers to cook the books, um, under different CAC cards, uh, this is, where is the oversight? This is taking advantage of the weakness of the system. And because my dad said it, because there's no esprit de corps. right? You can always take advantage of the weakness of the system because the system always has weakness because everything uh, depends on people's own self-government, which means esprit de corps. You have to be able to be trusted to govern yourself, not to steal, not to covet, not to commit these crimes, and have esprit de corps, have a love for the people around you, have a love for your country, have a love for freedom, and with that freedom, it means a lot of self control because there's no freedom without self control, right? You can't just go and do whatever you want to do and hurt whoever you want and have the child porn, which is child torture. You know, you can't take a 7-year-old in your mother's master bedroom and have your way. It doesn't work that way. That is a destructive behavior. And if you have a criminal history of destructive behavior, like Leilani Hart clearly does, all she wants to do is bring chaos wherever she goes. Wherever she goes, she just wants to make people miserable, you know? Um, and everybody that I've talked to, that's all, the only good things that I read is when she had that hula dance thing. That's the only good thing I've read. The rest of it, and that's what I put up, was her hula dancing. But everything else I've read is like, that's a crazy woman. And she made my life hell. Um, and, I thought I was friends with her. She brought me into her house to show me her altar or her shrine for the Dallas Cowboys. And but she'll turn on a dime. She might be clever and bat her eyelashes or whatever and offer even her home. But then she will turn on you. And when she turns, it's vicious. It's very vicious. And it's with malice. It's with the intent to hurt. It's the intentional misrepresentation and malice of a person that has no self-control and is involved in criminal activities. There's no other explanation for the intentional misrepresentation and malice and wanting to have unauthorized access to many files, not just Richard's, but to Richard's, and to manipulate and to tamper. And I know, okay, you can say it's for the Social Security numbers, but no, there's more to this. And we have witness testimony, and that needs to be answered. And why can't we get answers to the witness testimony of why she was tampering with Richard's file? And I know there's people out there, because the group is a small group, but it's big enough for them to go, why didn't she just keep her mouth shut and we could have gotten away with this? Because God, the truth always comes out, and they always want to try to find someone to blame. And I'm going to be grateful to Leilani Hart for spilling her guts, because, if she intended it or not, it helped our case, and it will help us to understand what happened to Richard, and even maybe to find Richard's remains somewhere. And even if it's partial remains, we want his remains. And so that is really important information, that this family, and absolutely Dallas Hart at some time was Richard's platoon leader, okay? And we also have been revisiting the witness testimony of the soldier saying that Richard was taken out forcefully out of his barracks room, that they came and got him forcefully out of his barracks room, and and that there was an altercation in his barracks room, and he was taken out of there against his will. So we are visiting that witness testimony that we got very early on, and we thought it was maybe a retaliation, but now, because of um, the abduction information that's coming to us, that he was like arrested, um, or abducted, whether they used their badges or not to forcefully take him, they forcefully took him. And, that's that needs to be followed up with, because it seems like they forcefully, this was a planned, because of July 9th, um, Richard had a legal standing against them, a huge legal standing against them. I don't know if he knew it or not, but he did. And, we'll find out. But they knew that he had a legal standing against him. And I don't know how the whole oversight works in the military, um, but we do know that that was a crucial moment, and we're trying to get answers for all of that, and well, I shouldn't say we're starting. We have gotten the institutional support, because Leilani Hart is being looked into by multiple uh, authorities. And of course, Dallas Hart is. And now, with the picture of the pearl color C Class Mercedes, that's another proof that the alibi has crumbled. And of course, to fabricate um, to fabricate evidence is a crime. So they're building a crime upon a crime upon a crime. And they absolutely fabricated alibis. They tampered with witnesses or intimidated witnesses and retaliated against witnesses. And so that's where we're going to start. There's a whole list of, and I read it yesterday. I have it here: covert meetings, false alibis, creating alibis, fabricating false alibis, tampering with evidence, spreading misinformation, coordinated distractions, tampering with witness statements. Absolutely. That even is across the border. Intimidating witnesses, online campaign to spread misinformation. Absolutely. We know that for a fact. Coordinated, all of these we know for a fact. Coordinated events to distract, sabotaged witness statements, tampering with CCTV footage, coercing a potential witness, planting false evidence or clues, manipulating forensic evidence, coordinating false testimonies. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the tip of the iceberg compared to the whole list, because we haven't even gotten to the real nasty crimes. So this is definitely a botched investigation, and because of that, we need to focus on El Paso Matters and KTEP, and also Park University. So they had a duty to keep their students safe, and also to come forward that with the information that they had about Richard. And so Um, so that's a huge focus of ours. Um, but clearly, the intentional misrepresentation lays at the feet of Angela Kachurga with KTEP, KTEP, and El Paso Matters with Bob Moore, um, colluding with a defense attorney to obstruct justice in Richard's case. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. I think I'm going to be finished early today. Oh my gosh. Maybe it's 11:40 here. Wow, wouldn't that be great? Um, yeah, the big focus is why, well, I don't know why, but the witness testimonies for uh, for criminal history. That's that gives me shivers. Why are we getting information that Dallas Hart has a criminal history in El Paso and in Las Cruces? In Las Cruces is more. Las Cruces is more. And so, yeah. And did he disclose that when he joined the military? Did he disclose that when he applied for green to gold? So that's really important. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on. And please sign the petition for the soldier, the active duty soldier. Uh, we really need to protect him, and that's very important. And if you have done that, thank you so, so much. And please don't stop there. A campaign for it. Get some more signatures. We need to try to get to 500. I think we're getting close to 300. And so please campaign to get those signatures to give that soldier protection and to let Major General Eisenhower, who we're also in contact with practically daily. Practically daily, we're in contact with Major General Eisenhower right now. So, you know, that is super important. And, and I almost forgot to say about what's going on with kilometer 29, but I'll give you more information tomorrow on that because that definitely needs to be revisited and it all has to be coordinated. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And yoo-hoo, this is a little bit early. So thank God for small things.